Hi everyone, video 11 in our video series on weight loss. This video is titled Why You Will Lose Weight When You Cut Out Carbs and Sugars and How Fat Becomes Ketones. So let's get going. Now this is how our bodies work without carbs and sugars. If you don't eat carbs and sugars and instead you eat protein and fat. Notice in this graphic, unlike the one in previous, there's no fast foods in here. There's not any but a very small amount of grains. Mostly it's vegetables, some fruits, proteins, and some dairy products. So we have to eat natural foods such as beef, pork, poultry, seafood, etc. Keep in mind, natural. If it comes in a package, in a box, in a bag, it is not natural. A good way to think about what it is you're supposed to eat is ask yourself one of two things. Did my great-great-great-great-great-grandmother eat this product that you're buying at the supermarket? If your great-great-great-great-grandmother did not eat this, then don't eat it. Now, if you look at every one of these items here, the answer is yes. Your grandmother, grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather ate these very things right here. But now we eat a whole bunch of junk. So we eat that food, our digestive system converts that very little amount of carbs and sugars to glucose, which is delivered in our blood by our circulatory system to all parts of our bodies to create energy in order to function. This includes muscles, brain, and internal organs. Additionally, muscles store extra glucose. We covered this before, so there's some stored away in the muscle and in the liver. But here's the key. Up until this point here, up until now, everything has been pretty much the same as when we studied when you ate diets that had a lot of carbs and sugars. Everything up to now is the same. But because you have low carb, no sugars, or very little sugar consumed, things change. So now your body is measuring the glucose in your blood, and because you haven't eaten sugars, you haven't eaten carbs, it notices that your blood sugar is normal, right around 90. It stays in the green. So it stays this way for all day, for days and days and weeks. It'll stay right around that ballpark. So the body detects that there's not enough glucose in your blood sugar, in your bloodstream, to fuel the body the way it's been doing. So a different signal is sent out this time. The body signals for the fat that is stored in your body to be turned into ketones, which ketones are used by our bodies as a fuel. So by taking all that fat out of our fat cells and metabolizing them, you produce ketones. Now, ketones are very similar to glucose, the sugar that we don't want to have, in the sense that our body can run off of that ketones. Our brain can run, and in fact, all the latest studies show that the brain actually prefers to run on ketones. So ketones are the alternate fuel. Now, if you think about this, going back millions or hundreds of thousands of years in the back when we were hunter-gatherers and we didn't have carbs and we didn't have sugars, we were eating protein, we were eating plants and a little bit of fruit, and we were running most likely on ketones every time we went through a stretch of not getting food for days. We would switch into producing ketones from our fat. And you might even think, well, that's not possible because somebody who's not fat would die because there's not enough fat. Actually, as it turns out, there's some great research out there that will tell you exactly how, for a lean person, there's up to 100,000 calories of fat in a lean person. So imagine with someone who's overweight or obese, how much energy they have stored in those fat cells. Fat cells are one of the best things for storing energy in the entire that we know of, basically. So now, as you stop eating carbs and sugar, that's what happens. Your fat cells shrink, releasing the ketones when it's metabolized, and your body then starts to lose weight. But it is, as I mentioned, I think earlier in the video, it is a misconception that when we get fat, it is because we're getting more and more fat cells. In fact, we have a fixed number of fat cells. They just get very large or very small. So that's what happens when you stop eating carbs, you stop eating sugars. Your body notices that there's no more tons of glucose in the blood, so it switches over to saying, hey, I need glucose in the blood because there's not any in there or there's very little. signal those fat stores, all that fat that's on your body, get it out, metabolize it, converting into ketones. The ketones then run through your entire body, doing the job that glucose does. So now we're running on ketones. So we're going to cover in video 12 how to test your blood sugar level, so you can learn and verify that you can keep it around 90 all day by eating this way. So see you in video 12. But if you want to follow the series, make sure you click on subscribe and the little bell icon, and then you'll notify when there's new videos.